So over the last 5 years, I've worked with hundreds of remodelers, and I've noticed a common pattern when it comes to marketing. And that is the fact that the remodelers that scale to like $30 million dollars a year or $10 million dollars a year are the ones that aren't taking emotional decisions in their marketing. They are looking at the data and are making data driven decisions from that. So in this video, I'm going to break down how 10 to $30 million remodeling contractors think about marketing. And if you're in this boat, how you can stop making emotional decisions about your marketing budget. So let's dive in. So why most contractors never break the $5 million ceiling? The first thing is most contractors only spend 2 to 3% of revenue on marketing. At $1 million, 3% is $2,500 a month, which is just not enough for scaling to that next level. Because the thing is like, you can do the best work in your market, but if no one knows about you, they'll not be able to find you, and thereby you can't scale. Another thing is a lot of them are relying on aggregator leads. That means they can't build a predictable pipeline because 1 month the lead aggregator is working well, the next month it aren't. And at the same time, these leads are shared with 5-10 other remodelers, which means you just can't charge as much per project as you would have been able to if your leads were exclusive and you weren't competing on value instead of just price. Then we have emotional decisions, pausing ads, and chasing cheap leads. And that ultimately leads to the result, which is no growth and a constant revenue roller coaster. So what I'm seeing the most successful contractors are doing is they're investing 10% to grow 20 to 30% year over year. So the stagnant ones that aren't growing that much are spending like 2 to 3% on the marketing budget. The ones that are growing and are scaling are spending 8 to 12, and the lead ones are spending 10 to 15%, the one doing $10 million a year. So the math of a 10% investment, let's say it's a $10 million company, actually a $1 million company, and their 10% marketing spend would be $100K a year, which is $8,300 a month. And the coverage is only 1 to 2 extra jobs per month are needed to cover the entire marketing budget. Everything after that is profit. So now you're probably thinking, oh shit, $8,300 is a lot of money to pour into marketing to kind of get 1 to 2 jobs. And I know that can sound like a big number, but here we're just talking worst case scenario, because if you're, for instance, targeting like full kitchens, full bathrooms, then 1 to 2 projects, which you definitely should be able to get, will cover the whole marketing and generate profit. It will put you in a better position than not spending it and not trying to figure it out. Because the thing is, it also keeps your crews busy and your whole team busy. But if you can dial it in, you should be able to get like predictably 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs a month. And that's why I'm saying that everything after that, 1 to 2 extra jobs per month are pure profit, which means if you can break that cycle and get to that, you can make a lot of money. So marketing is an investment in customer assets. It's not an expense. When you initially started your business or when you started scaling it up, you bought a 60K truck, and you don't panic buying a new truck because it generates revenue for 5 years. It's an accepted business asset. But then when it comes to spend, the 10K ad spend, you feel like you're losing those. But actually it equals acquiring predictable high ticket projects, which is worth 150K in gross profit in total. So stop viewing marketing as a line item that drains cash from your bank account at the end of the month, and start viewing marketing as the cost of acquiring a paying customer, the most valuable asset in your remodeling business. So the real question you should be asking yourself, which the biggest ones are, is how can you do more? How can we spend more on ads? Or how can we basically fix the current constraints within the system so we can spend more and scale the business? Not should we pause the ads. You shouldn't pause the ads. You should figure out where the constraint is in the system and then scale again or get things back on track. So emotional decisions create volatility, systems create stability. The emotional roller coaster is pausing ads when cash is tight, lead flow immediately dries up as a result of that, and you then panic and scramble for cheap leads. The predictable machine is they commit to a 10% marketing spend. They then generate predictable high quality lead flow and consistent revenue growth. So big players don't make decisions based on a bad week. They look at the quarterly metrics, because if the target is a 5-1 and the campaign hits a 5-1, then you don't pause your ads, you scale it. And this consistently drives 20 to 30% year-on-year growth for your business. So, the $30 million sales workflow. Urgency, quick call, and in-home close. So the first step of the system is basically to create this urgency. That could be, we're only looking for 5 kitchens to remodel this month. And I'm hearing from a lot of remodelers that they aren't really happy to push discounts. And I agree to a certain extent. And that's why we typically don't like to put a certain dollar amount on the actual discount we are providing in the ads that we run for our partners. Because if you just mention it as a discounted rate and it only applies to 5 homeowners that are looking for a full remodel, then you are separating yourself from the competition, because there's this kind of it's kind of more sexy to not know which specific discount it is. They feel like it's more special, and you get them into the funnel. Because at the end of the day, you need to figure out how can you differentiate yourself from all of these other competitors in the market. And by doing this, you get a lot of these decent sized projects. If you push for discounts, maybe you get a lot of kitchen bathrooms that are 20 to 40K in revenue, but you also get these larger ones in between. Because whether we like it or not, people see a remodel as an investment. And when you make an investment that can improve the value of your home, you're obviously looking at price and how you can get the best deal out of it. People are super selfish, which obviously makes sense. They want to figure out how they can get the best possible deal for themselves. From there, once you have created this urgency in your advertising, you then lead to respond to them immediately, transitioning it into a 15-minute discovery call. Same day if possible. Not even if possible, it's a non-negotiable. You should even be calling these leads within 5 minutes. You then use this short call to qualify the prospect and then schedule the in-home consultation. So here you can get clear on the scope of work, the time frame, so for when they're looking to get started, and then also you can kind of tell them what your projects are ranging from within the specific scope of work they're looking for. From there, you get them to an in-home meeting, and this is the primary venue for the sales presentation and thereby close. So this systematic workflow converts leads predictably, and it completely removes the need for multiple follow-ups and long-drawn sales cycles. So if your marketing return on investment exceeds 5-1, you're leaving money on the table. Because the minimum target is $5 in revenue for every $1 spent. And if you have that, spend more. In business, when you're running marketing, you are a sophisticated gambler. And if you have, the best odds against the dealer on the blackjack table, why wouldn't you double down? And that's exactly what you're doing here. The thing is, though, you're a more sophisticated gambler because you have all of the odds stacked in your favor when you have these metrics. So thereby you have a predictable machine and you can scale your budget to capture more market share. If you then have a 3-1 return on investments, fix your funnel. Do not scale the spend, fix your offer, targeting, or sales workflows first. And again here, this is how you can avoid having any emotions tied into your decisions, because you should just track this relentlessly on a monthly basis. Track the cost per lead by channel, cost per job, and the overall marketing return on investment. because then you know where you should put your chips. So the three mindset shifts that separate $5 million remodelers from $30 million remodelers is number one, that marketing is an investment, it's not an expense. Obviously, if you don't know your numbers and you're just kind of like pouring money out with no faith in it, then obviously it's an expense because you aren't treating it how you should. You should treat it as the most important thing in your business. Number two is to commit to 10% of revenue and don't make emotional decisions. Number three is build a systematic sales workflow that converge predictably. Because these shifts remove emotion from the equation, and that's allowing you to scale confidently and predictably. So next thing, we're going to break down the exact mathematics to make this work. So the 1 to 3 to live framework, which is how big contractors view customer value. So number one, the initial project, let's just say it's a 50K kitchen remodel. The cost per acquisition is applied here. But this is actually the only stage where you pay for the marketing dollars to acquire the customer, because then immediately, the second they kind of like refer you to a new client, or they want a second thing done in their home, you're getting this for zero marketing costs. And it's generated purely because the first job was executed perfectly. And that brings us to live. So this is the lifetime relationship, the lifetime gross profit. Because the customer then maybe returns 5 years later or refers you to someone else in the neighborhood. And now you're kind of building this whole compounding effect that can lead you to becoming kind of the leader in your market. So most contractors only look at the one and panic that the initial customer, like over the initial customer acquisition cost, where $30 million CEOs, they look at the live and make investment decisions based on the lifetime gross profit from the customer. Next thing then is CAC. So CAC is one of the most important things, obviously. CAC is the total marketing spend divided with the new customers acquired. So let's say, for a practical example, you spent $10,000 on meta ads, which is Facebook and Instagram. From that, you close 5 projects, which is a $2,000 cost per acquisition. Here, the baseline metric is to basically track marketing efficiency and calculate CAC separately for each channel, Google, Facebook, LSA, so you know which one is bringing the lowest cost per acquisition, which means you know what to double down on, and then track monthly to monitor trends and adjust budgets. Your gross profit margin is then going to determine if your CAC is sustainable. So the formula for that is gross profit equals revenue minus labor and materials. And that leads us to the margin, which is the percentage of the gross profit divided with the revenue times 100. And the industry benchmark here is 30 to 40%. And if you're not there, then you kind of just need to restructure some stuff, because this margin is going to determine how much you can actually go out there and spend to acquire a new job. Because if your competitors can spend more to acquire, jobs, they're going to win in the long run. So another example here, let's say the project revenue is $50,000 and the gross margin is 30%. That means the gross profit from that project is $15,000. And this 15K is the money available to cover overhead, marketing, which is the cost per acquisition, and net profit. And if your gross margin, as mentioned, is lower, your allowable CAC must be lower. You cannot out-market bad unit economics. So your real return on investment is the gross profit divided with the CAC. It's not revenue divided with CAC. So the wrong way of looking at it is looking at 50K in revenue, and then you have a $2,000 cost per acquisition, which is a 25 to 1. That's misleading because you don't keep all 50K, and this ignores the cost of goods sold. So the right way to look at it is 15K gross profit divided with 2K cost per acquisition, which means you have a 7.5 to 1 return on investment. And that's accurate because this is the actual money left over to cover overhead and profit. So this specific number here is the number that matters for scaling decisions. Because ultimately, if you're looking at this number, you are having a machine where you put $1 in, and for every dollar you put in, you're getting 7.5 in return. So why wouldn't you put more money into that machine if that's the result you're getting out in return? So one customer acquired can generate 2 to 3x revenue through referrals and repeat work. And that's what I talked about earlier. You have the one, which is the kitchen remodel. You paid the CAC for that. But now year two, repeat. You get another primary bathroom for that same client. And then the neighbor's kitchen later down the line, which means the ultimate lifetime value is going to be 130K. So the initial CAC of $2,000 is now only 1.5% of total revenue generated. And this is what most people forget about. The fact that, acquiring these jobs and spending this money on advertising is going to push your brand out, and it's going to basically create this compounding effect for your business. So the ultimate goal is to keep marketing under 10% of revenue by maintaining CAC, which is under 10% of the average project value. So the max allowable CAC is the average project value times 0.10. So if you have a project value which is 50K, the target would be 10%, which means the max CAC is $5,000. And I hear a lot of people that are like, oh, $5,000 to get a 50K job, that's ridiculous. But you're only in a way better position by having spent this money, because maybe you spend 6K, you get this job which is 50K, and then you get another one which is 20K. Now you're sitting at 70K in revenue with 6K in cost per acquisition total, which means it's not a lot compared to the revenue that you have generated on the bottom line. And in a home renovation, you should even be willing to spend upwards to 15K to acquire that. And this is obviously the maximum. The lower that we can get this number, the better, obviously. And that's just about optimizing the system. So in high-ticket remodeling, your CAC payback period should be immediate, because you have to spend, which that's always just the thing with marketing. You are needing to go out of pocket first, but then you collect a 30% deposit on that 50K project before the work begins, and then you get the payback. The deposit instantly covers the CAC, leaving $13,000 for materials and labor. So because payback is immediate, you're never going out of pocket for too long. And this allows you to reinvest and scale rapidly without cash flow being the bottleneck. So a complete example here, a $2 million contract, you're scaling to $5 million. So the gap is right now that they are sitting at 2 million, they want to get to 5 million, the revenue needed is $3 million. So here you apply the 10% rule to the new revenue, which is 3 million times 10%. That's going to be $25,000 a month. And yeah, obviously that is a high number, but you're also trying to add an additional $3 million in revenue. So if we say the average project value is 50K, the target cost per acquisition would be 5,000. And now you're probably wondering, again, 5,000 is a lot of money. Yes, it is, but the average project value is also high, because if this average was 25,000, or if it was 30,000, then the CAC should have been $2,500 or $3,000. So it's perfectly aligned. So track these 3 metrics monthly to make data-driven decisions. The first one is cost per lead, which is the total spend divided with leads. This measures the efficiency of your ads and targeting. And high CPL means your offer isn't resonating. That's why I've seen some companies that are just throwing up some before and after pictures or videos. And it's just really hard to differentiate yourself from your competitors if you're doing that, because why would they go with you compared to all of the other companies that are just throwing out a before and after video? You need to come up with some kind of offer that makes your business irresistible compared to the others. And the most important thing is just getting that initial contact and getting the foot in the door. Next thing is then cost per acquired job, which is the total spend divided with the new customers. So your true customer acquisition cost, the CAC, measures the effectiveness of your sales workflow. And again, this should be under 10% of the project value. The lower the better, obviously. Then we have your marketing throughput, which is the gross profit divided with the CAC. And this ultimately measures your success and tells you exactly how much money you keep for every dollar you spend. The target is 5-1, but you probably heard about Alex Hormozi. He has been reading some phenomenal books, which is the $100 million offer, $100 million leads, and his whole like business fundamental. He's, by the way, like acquiring businesses, like buying them in a number of different industries. And his golden standard is you don't have a real business unless you have a 1-3. So for every time you spend 1,500, you should get 4,500 in return, for instance, because that should be a 1-3, which means the target realistically here should be a 1-3, but obviously if you can get it to a 5-1, it's better. Obviously we're always trying to target for the best possible outcome. So use this metric to decide whether to scale, hold, or cut marketing spend. If your true return on investment is like a 5-1 and CAC is under 10%, increase the budget by 20% next month. Because now you have a predictable machine and you're just putting more money into that machine that is producing, a 5-1 for every dollar you put in. If you're at like a 3-1 or 4-1, I would tell you to kind of hold, maintain spend and optimize your sales workflow and lead follow-up. So kind of figure out where the main constraint is in the system, fix that bottleneck, and then you can go back to the scaling phase again. If your true return on investment is under a 3-1, then you have a problem. Then you need to pause scaling and fix your offer, targeting, or close rate immediately. Because otherwise you're just running, pouring money into a leaky bucket. So just like 5 common mistakes that kills contract or marketing return on investments is number 1, pausing ads emotionally. Stopping spend during a slow week instead of trusting quarter return on investment targets and scaling predictably. Because it is normally just a longer sales cycle if you're doing like large kitchen projects or, larger full bathroom remodels. Maybe something that you are quoting now and sending out like proposals for, or first going to close in the next month. And that means you haven't given the system enough time to see the full, return on investment. So you need to kind of respect the sales cycle. The next thing is ignoring gross profit. So calculating marketing return on investment on top line revenue instead of the actual gross profit you keep. Obviously also super important. Next thing is slow lead response. Waiting 24 hours to call a lead. The $30 million contractors call within not even 15 minutes. They call within 5 minutes because they know there is a 400% higher chance they will actually book an appointment if that's done. Number 4 is no sales workflow. They're just winging the in-home presentation instead of following a predictable high converting system. Number 5 is forgetting lifetime value, treating a customer as a one-off 50K transaction instead of a 150K lifetime asset with referrals. If you have a good referral system in place, for instance, and also are doing incredible work, you're going to get repeat customers from it and referrals. So fixing these 5 leaks will instantly double your marketing return on investment without spending an extra dollar. So 3 numbers that determining your marketing success is first, your customer acquisition cost. The total marketing spend required to acquire one paying customer. Again, under 10% of the project value. Number 2 is gross profit margin, which is the money left after direct labor and materials to cover overhead and CAC. The benchmark should be 30 to 40% here in my opinion. Then we have lifetime value, the total gross profit generated from a customer over the entire relationship. Aim that to be a 2 to 3x. So if you're ready to scale, start tracking these metrics this month. Number 1, calculate your current cost per acquisition across all marketing channels. Determine your true gross profit margin on an average project and commit to a strict 10% marketing budget for the next quarter. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you want our help to basically help this system for you, we basically take care of everything from generating the leads to calling them up within 2 minutes and also qualifying them. Then please schedule a call below on the link, and we can kind of go through your marketing metrics and see where the leak is in the system. If not, then I hope you gained some value from this video. And yeah, feel free to subscribe for more remodeling growth strategies. Take care. Bye bye.